Let's start our day. So we are live now, okay? And would like to welcome Mechi Mudita Gurama from Nepal as well today. So we will be still talking about the compassion, the karuna, and last session I stopped at the samsara or samsara vs nirvana. Before we going into that, anybody has got anything to share on compassion, karuna? Anyone? Any stories or any thoughts on compassion?
I
No.
would say
Okay. Tantita,
uh, when
speak louder, please.
the Lord Buddha teaching his son Venerable Rahula, I think it's the second sutta, the Maharahula Ovada Sutta, in which I think the background is that when Lord Buddha was walking in front and Venerable Rahula was walking in the back, he had the thought, look at how uh, brave and good looking the Lord Buddha looks. He's my father. I am the same. I must look like this as well. He had this kind of thought. And then Lord Buddha gave the Maharahulavada Sutta in that moment when he realized that this is a dangerous kind of thinking to have. So he taught him how to do the Kaya Gata Sati and Dhatu Manasikara. I thought that was quite a good teaching. Shows his compassion that he's always, even when going for alms, he's always ready to give advice.
Okay. Now, so that's the teachings to the Rahula by the Buddha. Now, Rose, do you have some story?
The sound is very low.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have story to say, Niroz?
Actually, I have one sutta about the topic that we are talking about. But I think I will put in the last after we have a session of this Karuna.
Okay. 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 Now, Guruma, can you introduce yourself to us little bit before we study? Because Chunchit and Achan Kon doesn't know you. They don't know you. So can you introduce?
Okay. My name is Mudita Nan, and I am from Balambo in near the Kathmandu. Yeah, I want to join this group because I have no very poor English. I want to improve my English.
Okay.
Okay.
So thank you for joining. We are all learning here. We are not good in English, everyone. So we are learning. Only Tantita Dhammo, he's good at English. He's British.
His British English is worse.
Normally, single people normally know the English well.
No, he is not single only. He's a British. He brought up here. So he's the one know English more than us. Okay. So we're all here to learn and learn to speak. And also learning the Dhamma with that. Okay. Along with that, we are learning Dhamma.
Thank you. Thank you very much for informing me today.
Yeah. So We need a lot of patience to learn the Dhamma as well as patience to learn the teachings.
That's
The English.
good.
Okay.
Who's that? Is it Mani?
Okay. So, Chunjit, do you have any story to tell? Professor Chunjit. Chunjit.
Change it.
You must track the first syllable. Actually, maybe I just want to reflect on the one that I mentioned earlier about the Lord Buddha Mahakaruna. Yep.
Yeah.
So I think it's a kind of important activity of him from the beginning and like nearly the whole day and night that he really work hard for us, make us to what I call he wanted to escape or to from samsara, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. Achan Kon, do you have a story? Compassion? Karuna story?
I think it's before the Lord Buddha first to think to taught Dhamma, Mahaprabhu he invites the Buddha to taught Dhamma because Buddha he don't want to taught the Dhamma for everybody because it's so difficult to all people. But Mahaprabhu is called like this. Maybe some people is the least who least kilesa. Maybe somebody to have.
Yeah.
Then he think about like four lotus. In the past time. Sorry. He start to change his mind to toss Dhamma for many people.
Yeah.
That
Okay. Yeah. So that is the Brahma Sahampati requested to the Buddha to give a talk, and then at that time Buddha said that now the teachings is open to all those who have ears to hear. Yeah. Aparuta tesang amata dhammam. Okay. Right. So let me share our PowerPoint to start off. Okay. So this is what we were talking about, the compassion, the karuna, and then this is the sentiment which incline one to spare or help those in distress. And I like this, the last one, the feeling of feeling that causes the good people's heart to be moved. Okay. And here we are talking about the karuna, and I want to link today's topic with this Bahujana Hitaya, Bahujana Sukhaya, the instruction that the Buddha gave to the 60 Arhat monks. Okay, 60 Arhat monks. Buddha gave it to this instruction to give to these 60 monks, and with that, here they were all arhats. Okay? And here Buddha also said that I am freed, so you are. And now let's go and share the teachings. Okay? So this is I am free, you are too. And let's go and share the teachings out of compassion. And here with this we were talking about the karuna in different aspects, and here, this is also, I ask you to think about it. The Attatacharya, Jnatatacharya, and the Lokatacharya. In order to understand the last bit of this samsara vs nibbana, if we concentrate on these three topics, the Attatacharya, Jnatatacharya, and Lokatacharya, we see it very clearly. Yeah, we see it very clearly on this samsara vs nibbana. Anyone wants to talk on Attatacharya, self-development?
I'll tell that.
Okay.
The one thing that comes to mind a lot for me is the Pabbaja Sutta in the Sutta Nipata, when the Bodhisattva was, I think it was King Bimbisara came across the Bodhisattva and offered him a whole kingdom or half a kingdom. And Bodhisattva said, this homeless life is so wide and free and open. Why would I want the cloisters, the fetters of the home life, the household life? All these riches and treasures and power, they mean really nothing in the end. So in here we can see the sort of commitment that the Bodhisattva had in order to free himself from samsara, because any lesser be a person would have fallen for this, because a half a kingdom is such a great power, such great wealth, such great recognition. All the worldly things that samsara has given, you can get from this. But all through his samsara, we can get these things. We were probably kings before, we were probably brahmas, we probably had a huge mansions and monasteries and all of this, but in the end we are still here, still suffering, and still there is the potential for the niraya, for the apayas, despite having all these worldly things. So the Bodhisattva was wise enough and was energetic enough and committed enough to the holy life, to the freedom from Nibbana, in order to not accept such a tempting offer and keep going in the homeless life. And we have to remember it wasn't exactly an easy homeless life he was living as well. It was the life of a wanderer. But even then, he was not tempted by the comforts and the luxuries that were offered, because the dangers of samsara are far more painful than anything to be endured on the journey to Nibbana.
Yeah. So that is the Attatacharya, self-development. Anyone wants to say on the Jnatatacharya? Jnatatacharya here, helping relatives. Any story you remember from helping Jnata, the relatives?
I remember one story, Ajahn.
Okay.
But I will tell in the brief, Ajahn, not so long.
Okay.
Actually, this story we can find in the Sutanta Pidok about the Jataka called Kukura Jatak. So this story happened during the time when the Lord Buddha was born as a dog, Bodhisattva. So at that time, the king Brahma that was ruling in that kingdom called Varanasi, Banaras. It's called Banaras in India. Current situation. And at that time, what happened was king used to love the dog. He have many dogs inside his place inside his kingdom, his palace. And one day, what happened was when king went for outside to visit uh, outside of his kingdom, and then when he came back to his palace, and there was a lots of rain. At that time, they used a chariot to go outside to visit the places. There was no bus, no car, van, no. And, and so when he came back to his palace, then there was a big rain. So the chariot was outside of the palace. I mean, inside the compound of the palace, but it is outside of the palace. So because of rain, the chariot was uh, what we piak,
Wet.
wet.
Uh,
The chariot was wet, and due to the wet, the chariot was wet. And then what happened was there was a ladder in the chariot. When the ladder was being wet by the water, then there was a smell. Some kinds of smell occurs at that time. And then the dog inside the palace smell got a smell of that ladder. And then what happened was all the dog which was being uh, uh, looking, which dog was being looking looked by the king. They came to the chariot and just ate that ladder which was stuck in the chariot. It was been thrown by all the dogs because of that smell. And then the men who have a duty to look after the chariot and the dog, uh, they think that when they come another morning and they saw all the things what happened, and then they didn't blame to the dog inside the palace, but they blamed the dog outside of the palace,
mm,
outside of the palace. And then they said, oh, maybe some dogs from the outside, stray dog, come inside our palace, and they ate the leader, I mean the chariot of the king.
mm.
So this chariot has been destroyed by the stray dog from the outside of the palace. And then the men who have a duty, they went to the king and then uh, told to the king that some dogs came and have destroyed your chariot. And then king was very angry of that. And then he commanded to his men that kill all the dogs outside of the palace, all the dogs. And the stray dogs, they even don't know that why they are going to get punished. And all the men that who used to work for the king, they have a spears, they have a knife and any other sharp things. They went outside and began to kill all the dogs. And there are many dogs are being killed by them. And many of the dogs, because of afraid, and then they began to run out of his kingdom. And so because of that, they don't know where they should go and go for a refuse. And then they remember to the bodhisattva, dog bodhisattva at that time. And at that time, the Lord Bodhisattva wasn't inside the kingdom. He lived outside of the kingdom. In uh, maybe he lived in the Pachanic. เรียกว่าอะไรอาจารย์ Pacha
Charnel ground. Charnel ground.
channel ground. Uh, and then the lots of dog went for the refuse to him that all the stray dogs told him that this kinds of thing happened to our kingdom, so we are very scared, very afraid, so we came to refuse to you, Lord. And then uh, Bodhisattva sit quietly for us for a few moments. And then what happened was he was thinking that how should I help to my clan, and it's just like a yad, means yatatachariya.
Mm.
So, and then first of all, he remember the good deeds he have made in the past, parami, and then he take a vow that if I have done a make a good things, many merits in my past life, then when I go to the palace, may no anyone harm to me. Just like he developed the meta, first of all, share all to the living beings, and then he put compassion to all the living kinds, to his clan dogs, all the dogs, and all the living kinds. So he, after that taking the vow, then he went to the straight to the palace. But don't forget that while he went, there are lots of men who used to work for the king. They are still killing other dogs. But when he went straight to the palace, there wasn't any harm for him. He just went slowly, slowly. He was walking, and went to the palace. Because of his metta and karuna, there was no any harm for him. And when he reached to the palace, and then he met a king of that kingdom, Brahmadatta. And then what happened was the king was amazed that how this dog came to inside my palace. And then the Bodhisattva told him that I have some questions to you, king. And then king said that, okay, you may ask the question. And then Brahmadatta Bodhisattva asked that, did you set to punish all the dogs or only the outside of the palace whose dog used to live outside of the palace? And then king told replied that I only told command to my man to kill outside of all the dogs who used to live outside of my palace. And then Bodhisattva asked that, and why not the dog inside the palace? And then king replied that these dogs which are inside my temple, inside the palace, these dogs are well trained, and then I love them a lot. So I didn't punish them because they haven't done any wrong thing. And then Lord Bodhisattva told to the king, and how can you prove that those dogs inside the palace didn't harm your chariot or did any kinds of wrong things? And then Bodhisattva again told that I can prove that actually the dogs outside of the palace, they did not have done any kinds of wrong thing. They did not destroy your chariot, but the dogs which used to be inside the palace, they thrown your leather which is used to be in the chariot, and they destroyed the chariot. And then king uh, said to the bodhisattva that, okay, if you can prove me that these dogs which is inside my palace, they were wrong, and then I will think once again to prove to make uh, to make a good หมายถึงจะทำให้ถูกต้องนะครับ
Mm. Righteous decision.
Righteous decision. And then after that, Bodhisattva told to the king that please bring me some of the grass and the oil, and then just like mix both of them, oil and the grass, and give to it all the dogs which is inside the palace. And after that, when uh, they ate that grass and the oil, and then some kinds of reaction happened to inside their stomach, and then what happened was all the dogs vomit, and then when they vomit coming out, and then they saw lots of leather which is used to be in the chariot of the king. And this is proof that actually the dog which live in the outside of the palace, they weren't wrong, but the dogs which is used to be inside the palace, which dogs are well trained, their mistake, they have done a wrong thing. And then king was very I think he was little bit shocked and uh, he was
Embarrassed.
embarrassed and shocked about what he saw right just now, because he had to take a bad decision and command to his men to kill all the dogs outside the palace. And then the Lord Bodhisattva teach the Dhamma to him to have a metta, to have a compassion to all the living beings, not to kill or not to harm any kinds of living beings. And then just like the king uh, receive the Dhamma and give a truthness that I will apply this Dhamma in my life, Tasapita Raja Dhamma, and then say that I will put a metta on all kinds of living beings and karuna to all the living beings. And from that day, and then the king command to all his men that so from now, no any kinds of violence, no killing, and just like he make a dana to all the stray dogs outside of the palace, and the witch dogs used to be inside the palace, and they have been just like ให้เนรเทศนี่ภาษาอังกฤษใช้ว่ายังไงอาจารย์
Expelled.
expelled, yeah, outside of the palace. And so this was the story that even when the Lord Buddha was a bodhisattva as a dog, and then he have lots of metta and compassion, karuna, to all the living kinds, even his clan as a dog.
Right. Okay, thank you. But similarly, there are stories like a Monkey King, the elephant, and then deer. These are the Jataka stories there. He tried to he sacrificed himself for the safety of the clans. And even during the time of the Buddha, we can see when there was a war over the water between his own clans going through, the Buddha went and stopped them. And when the Devadatta, not Devadatta, Vidudaba went to kill all the Sakyans, the Buddha went and stopped so many times. So this is helping relatives. And this is the worldly help. Further on, the help that he did was to enlighten his father, even his mother, and even his wife and children, and many Sakyans, and even the ordination of a bhikkhuni in a way as helping the his relatives to attain the liberation. So that also now comes under this Lokatacharya. Yeah? Lokatacharya is out of compassion. The Buddha traveled far and wide without resting his day. So that's why we come up with the Buddha. So Buddha, he traveled every single day out of compassion to teach people free from the suffering. Morning, early morning, Samapatidana, morning Pindapata, afternoon devotees, evening monks, and in the night to the Devata. So he was teaching like that. Now here we are talking about the samsara vs nibbana. Now, who would you like to say something on samsara? What is samsara? We don't need to talk about nibbana. Let's talk about the samsara. Yeah? So, anybody wants to say on samsara? What is samsara?
I think in short, It's like a cycle of death and like rebirth.
Yeah. Birth and
Which,
death.
yeah, the cycle of birth and death in kind of the material world.
Not just the material world.
It's a kind of life in the material world. So we all in this cycle.
Okay. Any other idea on what is samsara?
Samsara means the worldly, lokia.
Lokia, yeah. What else?
Ribbon and ribbon is sansar.
Okay, rebirth.
Consciousness moments.
Now, Ajahn Kon, what is samsara? Samsara what?
Yes, so rebirth and reborn, reborn, rebirth.
Reborn and rebirth, reborn. Okay. What else?
Again. For the whole. Samsara is same to all people. Is there?
Yeah. So then why samsara and VS here? The versus the nibbana. What are we talking here? Why samsara is not nice? Why nibbana is nice?
Suffering.
Sansar reborn is sansar. If we reborn again and again, we have to suffer a lot of.
Yeah.
So nibbana is not like that. It's a finish all as a thing.
Suffering. Yeah. Okay, now how do we apply compassion here?
If we do good things and help each others, and then we should maybe we will have the compassion as a thing.
Okay. Now think about the 60 first disciples. And then what was the Buddha's instruction?
Instruction.
Yeah.
Is to teach others to escape from samsara.
Yeah. So here, teach others. Yeah. Teach others to be free. Do you remember? Early on, I mentioned I am free, so you are. Okay, and then teach others to be free. And here we can link this two with the Buddha's activity here. Attatacharya, Lokatacharya. In order to see the danger in the samsara, first we have to see it. First we have to see that this samsara is danger. And only then we can explain what is a danger, why it is danger. So Buddha's teaching, that's why first of all, realize to yourself. Realize to yourself, yeah? And then Okay, and then tell others.
Because if not, we mix up our ditti.
Right? Wrong direction. Yeah. So that's why compassion, in order to show the real compassion, we have to realize the suffering. And also, we know the way to free from that suffering. And that is the mundane. This is the ultimate relief from the samsara. This is the one that is talking about. And the whole Buddha's teaching is about this, Lokuttara. The freeing not only you, but the whole other beings. And here, that's why, first of all, we have to understand what samsara is and why the samsara is suffering. When we realize that, then it's easy for us to convince others or tell others. And that will be the right way of a teaching as well. And that is the right compassion. Because once you have understood, whenever you see others are in suffering, it won't cause any troubles to your mind. You will have a thought of a helping, and you will try to help. But if unsuccessful, then it won't hurt you. Okay? So that's why this is the Buddha's teachings on the compassion. And that's why the whole teaching, Buddha's teaching, is about the compassion. The whole Buddha's teaching is teaching us to find the way to free yourself from the samsara. So that means freeing yourself from all the suffering. So that's why this is a permanent relief. Okay, permanent relief. So in this way, first helping general, like a Sanghavatu, helping them with the material and even a spiritual guidance and giving a knowledge. But this one, we should be looking at it. So that's why you may have heard the stories saying that rather than giving a food to a person, we better give him a skill so that that person will be not hunger for the rest of his life.
Give a man a fish.
Yeah. Rather than give man a fish, teach him how to fish. Okay. So that is the teachings. So now here, ultimate goal of Buddha's teaching is basically to let every beings be free from suffering. Okay. Now, how do we feel that now? How do we know? And how do we feel that compassion? How can you practice in your daily life the compassion? Anyone?
So you can just do simple thing like when you see people, you can smile at them.
Yes.
Or sometimes. Yep.
What if it makes them angry?
You need to look.
What's so funny?
We can help how we can materially, and financially, and by the words, and we can help them.
Yeah. Okay. So Guruma, we discussed about this one last session. Yeah. So with the material, with the words, with the help, and with samanatata. So these are ways to help. So we can help little by little, even a smile. As a,
that's so true.
Okay, so
If
that
we
is
can help them by the teaching Dhamma, that is more better.
yeah. So they can find a way to free themselves from the cycle of birth and death. Yeah. Okay. Now here is a passage. Ankon, would you like to read for us?
Mudita. Oh, I try.
Okay.
I try. Buddhism and compassion. In general, the compassion of the enlightened ones is universal in its perspective because it is a super individual and accordingly infinity and boundless. It makes no distinction in its operation. Before all possessiveness, it symbolizes the embodiment.
Symbolizes. Jankon,
Symbolizes. Thank you, sir. It symbolizes its embodiment of the love of enlightened ones towards or suffering being. Their selfless desire to make others happy. It is out of this end of compassion.
This kind.
This kind. Okay, no, sorry. It is out of this kind of compassion that embraces all living beings, including animals, that they serve the world. The 45 years of the historical Buddha's ministry in the perfect example of its practical realization. Thank you.
Where is this from?
Yeah. Okay, so this is an abstract from one of the articles. Okay, abstract from one of the articles. Yeah. So this is the quite a good summary of entire Buddha's teachings and what the Buddha's teachings on the compassion. Okay? So this is what we need to understand. Okay, and now this compassion again we can feel in our day-to-day life too. Suppose someone is when someone is in trouble, how do we feel? When someone is causing something different, how do you feel? So the compassion here also comes with someone's I think I can bring it here, or maybe just a minute. New slide. Okay, so compassion someone is not able to do that moment. How do you share your compassion? Someone lost their way. How do you share your compassion? Someone someone missed their job, what would you do? Yeah, I think I mentioned about a gunman coming into your room, into classroom. What else? So in those situations, how do you practice? Now someone is unable to do things. How do you practice? Lost their way. Okay.
Are they disabled or are they just not doing it? Or they don't
Doesn't
know?
matter. Both disabled and non.
They're disabled, I would do it for them. If not, then I'll tell them how to do it.
Okay. So, do you hear Tantita Dhammo said?
Yes.
Yeah. So, if disabled, help. And non, tell them. What's the difference? Why don't you do?
Because maybe if they don't know, I can teach them. If they're being lazy, it's more compassionate to tell them to not be lazy.
Okay. Yeah. So what is the difference? Disabled people may not like to get the
Get help.
That's
yeah.
true, that's true. I'll ask them, of course.
Yeah. See, here we need to be careful practicing compassion. It's a pure compassion. You want to help because you see that they can't do, they can't help. In the meantime, when someone is capable and they are not doing and they can't do it, then why we are saying them you do it? Yeah, so that's why this is, in these cases, we need to use our mindfulness a lot. Mindfulness, okay, being mindful of your own thoughts. You have to be very mindful of your thoughts.
Oh yeah, should I mention that?
Okay, how you are playing with your thoughts and how you are distinguishing and differentiating. Here, Buddha said, infinite and boundless, no distinction in operation. No distinction in operation. There is no disabled, no non-disabled.
Well, practically there is though.
Practically there is, but still you have to see the moment when you said, if disabled, you help. And
No,
if not,
I'm helping them both, but there are two different ways, right?
yeah, okay, yeah.
I can't, like, that is true. There is no distinction, but both ways is helping, but you need different ways. You can't use the same method
So,
for both cases.
in my opinion, I think that first of all, we have a metta karuna to both of them. Just like Tita Thamo told that disabled person. Actually, we saw that this is a disabled person, and then we want to help him or her. And then actually, Ajahn Susan said that actually disabled person don't need a help. They don't want help. They doesn't want to take a help. And in this time, so that we have to become a very mindful. We have to be careful. And then just like a Brahma Vihara has a four face, one and the four direction, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have to use the Brahma Vihara, Metta, Karuna, Mudita, and Ubeka. In this situation, I think we have to use the Ubeka, equanimity.
Yeah.
Okay. So the same with someone who lost the job, someone who lost the way. In those cases, we always think about our thoughts,
Right.
okay, our mental state.
Sometimes when people talk about a problem they're having, they don't want us to give them a solution. They just want us to listen.
Yeah.
So if I go around trying to give advice, it's like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. They just, it doesn't help them. They just like,
Yeah.
yeah,
The moment when you say you should do it, they close it.
yeah, they don't like
Like
you immediately. They
interfering
think
in your life.
Yeah.
they feel inferior already, and
Yeah.
it's not good. It's not good for ourselves because we feel superior. That's why we try to tell them to do what we think is right.
Yeah. So that's why it's very important that very moment when we see those situations, watching your mind. So be mindful and watch your thoughts, what you are thinking, what is going on, and then you may have this thought of a compassion, and you also realize that is it appropriate? Is it okay? So we have to check the situation, yeah, and we have to check the conditions. And then sometimes uh, it's just if that's repeatedly happening, it's no means of telling that person. If suppose that person is not doing it after you have said, and it's repeatedly, that won't be a compassion. That will be again another way of looking at it as dosa generating. So in that case, if you're not mindful, then the way you are saying will be accompanied by a dosa. It creates a more disharmony within you and with the person who is listening. So those cases, rather you're saying, you do yourself, and that is also a form of you become a compassionate to yourself. Now I was about to come here. Be compassionate to yourself before compassion to others. Be compassionate to yourself first before sharing to other. Okay.
Sometimes all you get is a headache if you try to help some
Oh,
people.
sorry. Compassionate, right? Yeah. So be compassionate to yourself. So first of all, we have to share compassion to ourselves, and then sharing it to others. Okay. If we are not compassionate to ourselves, what happens? We suffer ourselves, and then every action that we take, we are acting with a great danger for own self, the dosa. Yeah. So that's why it's very important to check our mental state. The moment when you share compassion to yourself and then sharing to others, then that becomes the true compassion. So that becomes you are trying to help. You're trying to help others to be free from that. And here again, a gunman coming into classroom. Here you are compassionate to yourself. Every action that you are taking, you know that you will be the responsible one. You are happy to accept that. And then you are taking action out of compassion for that person's action, so that that person will not commit any further actions that may harm to himself and harm to others, even the small bit. Even small bits. So that is it's called a compassion. Be compassion to yourself and then to others. And nowadays in the West, um, not only the mindfulness meditation is teaching, now they are teaching mindful compassion.
Mindfulness.
Now, and then another one which Achan Brahma Wangso developed is kindfulness. Kindfulness. And so this is basically mindful compassion. New term coming in. And that is basically self-help. Okay, and knowing yourself, when being compassionate to yourself, sharing compassion to yourself. So understanding your suffering, understanding your difficulties, helping yourself. And then this is helping yourself is basically helping others. And this is what is the Buddha's entire teaching. Right? Enlighten yourself and then help others to enlighten. So that's why when the Buddha sent these 60 monks, the Buddha said, I am enlightened, so you too. And now go on and spread the teachings for the good and happiness of many. Okay. Now, before we going into practice section, how to practice karuna. So anybody wants to share anything? Anything? Anyone wants to ask? Any thoughts? No? Okay. So how do you think we practice? Okay, now I will not go on to that phase. See how to practice compassion. Anyone? How to practice? Okay. Now, how to practice? Tell me. Everybody quiet.
Formal meditation or in
Whichever way.
in everyday life, sort of be considerate of other animals and humans, or like Ajahn Khan give a good example, saving flies from inside the temple. It's a daily job. Flies and bees always coming in, so that's a small way of doing it. Also, most of the time when people come with their problems, just to listen without adding anything, or yeah, that sort of thing. Formal meditation, it can be done similar to the metta. So same sort of system of compassion. So sort of sometimes it's hard to apply metta to oneself. It's easier to apply compassion. Sometimes compassion is hard to apply, then it's easier to apply joy at our fact that we are meditating, sort of like this is feeling joyful about having the time to practice. If not, then upeka. It's like that. Like if metta is too hard to develop for oneself, then karuna is a little bit easier because it's less the noise, less intense, I guess. Less needs less effort to develop than metta. So for karuna meditation can be used as well.
How to develop then?
Karuna.
Yeah.
I try it if it's too hard to develop metta, then I go straight to compassion. It's sort of having compassion towards the mind, towards the vihimsa vitakka, towards the person or thing or mind state that there is vihimsa is directed towards, or towards feelings of drowsiness and things like that. So learning to forgive oneself and be compassionate, and that can be developed into quite a nice calmness that is very good for meditation. So it's basically when I'm too don't have enough energy, don't have enough virya for practicing metta, then karuna is the method to use.
Okay. Anyone else?
I think we can start. I mean, I would talk in terms of like daily life. So we may start to you kind to yourself by, for example, praise yourself for your small success. Like, for example, if you making your bed in the morning, you just say that's good to yourself, and then also maybe you can maybe forgive yourself for like your mistake that you may not like intend to do. So this thing will help to develop that everyone else would be the same, and then I think by doing this a little bit, so for yourself you somehow you radiate love and goodness to others.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that is that you have said well. Forgiving yourself is the first thing to develop.
Can I add one thing? Sorry.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Professor.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes also need to know like when to just be harsh as well. That's more compassionate as well. Being like, okay, it was okay that I did this, but can't tolerate this anymore. It's got to end, So that sort of thing as well. Need to how to be rebuke oneself. I don't know how to do it to others yet because I feel like I might get into an argument. So I stay away from admonishing others. Of course, also because I'm just a junior, and people won't like a new monk telling them off. Also, to tell oneself off, I do that all the time. Like, what the hell are you doing?
So here it's called bodily and mentally well-being. So that's the first thing we have to develop. And after we have seen the benefit of forgiving ourselves, how good you feel, after you have a good bodily and mentally well-being, you feel that how good it is. And with that, you can share to others. Right? Otherwise, we do not know others' suffering. We do not know that what they are going through. So that's what, first of all, we have to feel it. We have to understand it. We have to experience it. And then we can help others. And in their case, that's why there is a saying, empathy. Yeah, empathy. So we are putting ourselves in their shoes. Putting ourselves in their shoes. So that's how you will help others to gain the compassion.
I think if one can see the kilesas at work and how that leads to harmful things in oneself, it's easier to direct that mind towards others and see, okay, it's not their fault, it's not them doing this, but it's the kilesas which are conditioned for. It's like, it's not because they're bad people, it's just that everyone has bad in them.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is how we should feel it. And this one, you can feel it as you develop your meditation, as you become more aware of your own body, feeling, and mind. Gradually, you will see that how the suffering this life is. And when you see other people, you gain this, simply you generate this compassion automatically in your heart. Like when you see them, you feel so sorry for them. And I used to have this feeling like whenever I see children, I feel sorry for them, and having a thought of saying that, oh, how innocent you are, and how ignorant you are. You don't know how terrible this world is, how terrible suffering that you're going to be experience, like that. Yeah, so those thoughts just simply comes to my mind, and I feel like so sad for them, like that. And then that's why I always try to encourage them to do good things and learn meditation, like that. Same with other people, like those who are uh, especially drinking and drugs and things. I feel so sorry for them, and that how much pain and the suffering they have to go through with that. I always recall that in the past I used to smoke and drink a lot, and as a result my throat is not good. So when I'm doing chanting, I have to clear my throat quite often. And I take it as because of my smoking and drinking. So with this, I always think of people when they are going through the difficulties that, oh, wish they can develop furthermore, like that. So that's why I like the first I mentioned that a good man's heart trembles when you see others suffering, is quite a good one that we can experience in our meditation. So that's why I also say that how to measure your development of inside meditation is to checking your metta and karuna, how much kind you become and how much compassionate you have developed in your mind. So this is how we should develop. And in terms of the practice, this is the first practice is saying sufficiently eating but not up to drowsiness. Do not make yourself drowsy. That's the first stage you have to take. When your mind is drowsy, then you can't think of anybody. You all wanted to do is to sleep. And then stages of a practice. And the second one, first we have to do is review the danger of a lack of compassion. And that lack of compassion, and again, first going into the personal, the individual one, and then the others. So when we look at ourselves, lack of compassion to ourselves, we will be neglecting ourselves of eating on time, neglecting sleeping, or neglecting the jobs that we are responsible for, and these are the lack of it, and the danger may be torturing or cruelty and violent, and the result may be other things as well that follows. So that's why we have to look at that danger of not being compassionate to oneself. And then the second one is to others, and the danger of others. And here, when we talk about the torture or vihingsa, that means 4 ways of doing. So killing or cutting parts of the body, or even making a cause of cut in their bodies, causing loss of wealth and their benefit and their fame is also and a feeling of embarrassed and finding faults. That is also not a kindness. So not a compassion towards that person. Yeah, and we are very good at it, trying to make other people embarrassed and try to find the faults and these things. And this is not a compassion. Okay. Compassion is to seeing their ignorance, seeing their not knowing. And with that, we will be able to see that whatever that person is doing is because the knowledge and understanding is not matured or haven't understood or haven't gone through with it. So that's why they are doing that. That's why they are committing it. And that is the compassion comes in. And in those cases, sometimes you may have to tell them, other times just do yourself. Okay? So that is coming from here. And then vipaka is, this is again, after any action that we have taken, if that is making a lose of others a benefit, then we have to check. lose of any respect to others, then again we have to check. And difficulties, so that difficulty socializing is like a bullying, and also telling them of not to come too close to us, or not as socializing and like that. Yeah? So these are also needs to check at all the time. Every action that we have taken, is it causing others benefit, lose? Is it causing others disrespect? Is it causing them not to be part or a able to socialize with anyone? So these are the dangers that we have to check, right? And once we checked it properly, then know that whom should we practice first. So these are the stages of practicing, right? And here, how to practice compassion. The first, and this is quite interesting here. In a metta bhavana, first we share with who? In a metta bhavana, do you remember? Share with who first?
You, myself.
Yeah, to ourselves. Yeah, where is it now? Oh, it's so far away. Yeah, here. Ways to practice own self. Yeah, and then hostile will be the last one. Here in compassions is quite a different. Here, wretched one, unlucky one, unfortunate one, distressed one. So this is the first practice. First way of a practice. First, think of a wretched one. And here again, when we think about the wretched one, first think of someone who is dear one for us, and then near, neutral, and hostile. That's ways of doing it. Okay, and then there is a reciting here, and this again you can change at whichever way you like to. But ayang sato, ayang means this, yeah, sato means being, dukkha muccatu. Okay, ayang sato dukkha muccatu. Muccatu. Yeah? So this person, may this person's suffering ends. So that is ways of practicing. So suppose someone who you feel very close to, and they are in a very wretched or very unlucky, then think of them, and then think of their names and bring into your mind, and then saying that may this person's suffering be free. Okay, and that this is how you practice. And then following and neutral and hostile, and again unlucky ones, first think of somebody who is close to us, and then neutral and hostile, and then unfortunate ones again, someone who is near to us, dear to us, and then neutral, hostile, and then last one, distressed one, right? So this is the first way of a practice of a karuna that one has to practice. The second practice is someone undergoing to be suffer, such as a prisoners about executed, or someone who has got the cancer, or someone who has got any, like even the coronavirus. So this moment again, we can think of them and undergoing suffering.
Soldiers. Soldiers.
Soldiers are not counted here because they are not going through the suffering. Okay, but maybe
Wartime.
after wartime, post-traumatic disorder like that. Okay. So in this moment again, the way of practicing here, rather than thinking of them straight away, first you have to calm your mind. So practice the samatha meditation. So that's how you will be free from any attachment or any distress. Right? So first you have to calm yourself. After you calming yourself, bringing their names or their pictures in your mind, and then sharing the compassion saying that may you be free from that suffering. This is how one, okay. And then the third practice is a little bit of a contradiction here, okay. And this is the Visuddhi Magga says starts from oneself, okay, to dear one, neutral one, and hostile. But Anguttara Nikaya says starts from a hostile people. Yeah, so this is a slight different here. Yeah. And here the practicing is again individual. We're taking individual, each person, each way, and this is similar to the first one here. Okay, this one. And as I here said in the column here, so if thought of a cruelty persists, practice samatha to calm first before practice karuna. So in every these three ways of a practicing of a compassion, any moment if you feel that your mind is in a cruelty or mind is not fully free from that cruelty, then first practice the samatha meditation. Any technique that you use to practice to calm your mind. And that calming mind helps to stabilize your mental state. And that's how after that you will be sharing a compassion to other beings, right? Including yourself. Okay? So including yourself. So this is the karuna. And then next Friday, we will be on sympathetic joy, mudita. Mudita Gurma, you have a mudita here. Okay.
You can teach us.
So we will be focusing on that. But before ending today's compassion session, anybody has got anything to share or anything to ask? Any stories to tell? I think Niroj has got one story to tell. But before that story, anybody wants to say anything?
Prajaka, can you go back to the passage? The one that says that no distinction.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but my question is not that one because you has already explained it. So the one that I the word that you say that selfless desire. So why you have like that one selfless desire? What
Selfless
is this?
desire to make
Desire.
others. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So free from all possessiveness, it
Mm-hmm.
symbolizes the embodiment of the love of enlightened ones towards all suffering beings, their selfless desire to make others happy. Right?
Yes, but the desire seem to have like negative connotation.
Chanda.
This is,
or it's neutral, so I'm not sure. But because when you talk about desire,
if I say chanda, what do you think?
I don't know this word. Sorry.
Chanda, 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 viriya, chitta,
Oh,
vimam.
chanta. Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is chanda.
All right. If this one is okay, chanta.
So we as a person who is sharing a compassion, we genuinely want others to be happy, free from the suffering.
Okay.
ฉันทะในการที่จะให้คนอื่นพ้นทุกข์
That's
yeah.
Like the first line of Mangala Sutta is Asevanacha Balanam. So in that sense, there are times when one needs to be removed rather than removed from balas instead of trying to get too caught up in their things. So this is a form of compassion as well, right, towards oneself.
Yeah, towards oneself. Yeah. free, getting away from unwise people is a self-compassion as well. Actually, that made me think. Okay, after a professor asked me about a selfless desire to make others happy, that made me think, what is the difference?
But that's an enlightened being right there.
Oh, yeah. What is the difference between a Theravada concept
Oh yeah.
and Mahayana?
Mahayana is sort of like missionary style. It's like
Uh,
even if you don't ask or don't want, I'm gonna give you. But Theravada is more like this is a step-by-step path.
And
First, sorry, go on.
oh, sorry. So you finish it first.
I
So what
forgot.
oh, you forgot. Sorry, I'm so sorry about that. That I interrupt you and then you forget about it. So I just wanted to say, maybe Theravada is to start from yourself first. You develop
yeah,
like develop yourself first, and then
yeah.
when you can help yourself, so you can help other people.
Mm.
Like but for Mahayana, so their focus is on the other, no matter what you suffer or not.
Mm. Yeah.
But this one I may get it from the movies.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Ah,
they are trying to live up to the bodhisattva ideal, right? So
yeah.
Yeah.
for us, it's arahant. It's like
Yeah.
that's the end.
Yeah.
So it's like, but the Theravada one sounds very nice, but even if you can't help yourself, how can you help others? Is what I keep thinking. I don't know. But they do good work though. So
So,
Yeah, and then I got further question from that as well after discuss about this is when people who believe that they need to help themselves first, sometimes other people regard them as a selfish,
yeah,
not
that's about to
selfless.
write it here.
but
Really. So
yeah,
that's why how we can communicate or
uh, it's
to
for like I think if I don't destroy the idea of the self first before helping others, I will turn it into a selfish cause. So I will my potential for helping will be limited by my tanha, mana, and ditti. So instead of truly out of a boundless heart trying to help others, I will be trying to gain name and fame, and just also to feed my own ego to think, oh, I'm such a nice person, or to get awards and recognition instead of truly and selflessly giving.
Okay.
But that's just but I mean there are different ways everyone approaches this. I mean you don't have to be so wholeheartedly into it because everyone has different paths. But the Mahayana one does a lot of good for this world as well, but the Theravada one does as well. We need to remember the way the Lord Buddha set up the sasana.
Okay. So basically, Theravada Buddhist concept of compassion or Theravada concept appear to be selfish, but self-understanding first before you helping others. Understand first to help others. Basically, help yourself to help others.
And it's not like this path is easy, it's not like a comfortable, luxurious path either. So, it's not like these CEOs in Oxfam making millions of dollars and getting rich and having a nice life. Like the path of following towards Nibbana, towards liberation, is not an easy one.
So I can give you a simile as a mother or a father, yeah, when they are there and the children those who are not helping themselves, and those who are helping. Who do you think will parents pay more attention to?
I think the kid that not helping themselves.
Yeah, why?
Because I think it means as a parent, so you feel worried about them.
How do you know that they are doing not well?
You mean like if they cannot help themselves, they cannot be like they cannot possess self-reliance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so
So
that
that
is,
that show the parent usually will show they give their support, but
yeah,
actually deep down they know that the kids that possess self-reliance
yeah,
will maybe
yeah.
succeed in their life later on. So they know.
Mm, mm.
Mm.
Okay. So a parent's heart is like a compassionate heart, like in Mahayana Buddhism. Eh? Like a Mahayana Buddhism concept of a compassion is like you are there because people are feeling helpless. They're suffering again and again. So you need to help them to free their troubles. Okay? And here Mahayana and Theravada is being a parent yourself.
That's good.
Because
Very good simile.
yeah, because you have been through the difficulties and you have experienced the life, how suffering it is.
That's true.
Yeah. And after that, you have seen children growing up, and if they are not doing well, you know the consequences, what will be. And that's how you show the compassion towards them to do good things or follow the instructions.
That's a good simile.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like a baby having a baby and trying to raise it.
But
Okay. So,
in my opinion, Ajahn, so I want to share my opinion to all of you.
okay.
When we are still surrounding in the samsara, then nothing is permanent. Everything is
Yeah.
impermanent. Even the
Mm.
dhamma,
Mm.
the Lord Buddha told that sabbe dhamma anattati.
Mm.
So I think it depends on the time, it depends on the situation, it depends on the person too. Maybe sometimes when we see or the saw on the point view of ours, then I think this is right. But maybe in other side, others view maybe it's wrong.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that is. As long as we are not arhats, there will be always these rights and wrong understanding. But this is we have to understand. But only here, the Theravada concept is not about the selfish that I wanted to say, and again, and the Mahayana concept of compassion is not that they are not selfish. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, both ways is compassion
There,
because someone who is practicing to be compassionate in Mahayana Buddhism, they are also following the instructions, taking the vows to be a compassionate one. It's called a compassion vows. They have to take to be the bodhisattva. So they are taking the bodhisattva vows to be a bodhisattva so that they can practice the compassion towards themselves and then to others too. But here, putting others first, whereas in Theravada, putting yourself first and then others. Right?
Yeah, but when we learn from the view that Lord Buddha had taught, then we understand that first of all, you should have to help yourself.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I was throughout the time of we were discussing on Karuna, I emphasize Arhat. Yeah. See here, Bahujana Hitaya, Bahujana Sukhaya, and then even the talking about the Buddha's work, Attatacharya, he developed himself first so that he know what is the danger in samsara and helping others to be free from it. Yeah. So
there are Theravadins who are following the Bodhisattva path as well.
everybody is following Bodhisattva path. Niyata or aniyata bodhisattvas.
That's true.
Yeah. So okay. We will hear the last story from Niroz to finish off today's session, and we'll come back next session on Friday on a Mudita. So I want to hear on a Mudita, the stories on a Mudita. Actually, I just want to highlight here, Mudita is one of the very important doctrine for now in present day world. Right? So I want to hear on that. Okay, so okay, let's hear the story from.
Actually, I wasn't going to tell the story, Achan. I was going to share the sutta, one of
Oh,
the sutta.
okay. Okay, go
Can
on.
I use my PowerPoint, Ajahn, so I can show all of you?
Okay, just a minute. Okay.
Can you see my PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Okay, so this sutta we can find in the Suttanta Pitaka, in the Rahula Sutta. This
Rahul
sutta,
Avadas.
yeah, this sutra was told by Lord Buddha to the Rahula. Actually, you can see the word in the Thai language and the English language. I will begin from the Thai language first. Rahul เธอจงเจริญเมตตาภาวนาเถิดเมื่อเธอเจริญเมตตาภาวนาอยู่พยาบาทจักละไป In English that means Rahul may you develop loving kindness and meditate when you develop loving kindness and meditate the ill will go away. This is the first line in the four Brahma Vihara Metta, and the second line Rahul เธอจงเจริญกรุณาภาวนาเถิดเมื่อเธอเจริญกรุณาภาวนาอยู่วิหิงสาความเบียดเบียนจักละไป That means Rahul may you develop compassion and meditate when you develop compassion and meditate the encouraged thought will go away. And then third line Rahul เธอจงเจริญเมตตามุทิตาภาวนาเถิดเมื่อเธอเจริญมุทิตาภาวนาอยู่อรตีความไม่ยินดีด้วยใครๆจักละไป That means Rahul may you develop mudita and meditate when you develop mudita and meditate the displeasure with anyone will go away. And then the fourth line Rahul เธอจงเจริญอุเบกขาเถิดเมื่อเธอเจริญอุเบกขาอยู่ปฏิฆะความหงุดหงิดแห่งจิตจักละไป That means Rahul may you develop ubekha and meditate when you develop ubekha that means the equanimity and meditate the mental irritability will go away.
Irritability.
บรรทัดที่5นะครับนะตอนที่วรรคที่5ก็จะพูดถึงว่าราหูเธอจงเจริญอสุภภาวนาเถิดเมื่อเธอเจริญอสุภภาวนาอยู่ราคะจะจักละไป That means Rahul may you develop asubha non beauty and meditate when you develop asubha and meditate the sensuality will go away. Sixth line Rahul เธอจงเจริญอนิจจสัญญาภาวนาเถิดเมื่อเธอเจริญอนิจจสัญญาภาวนาอยู่อัสนิมานะความสำคัญว่าตัวตนของและของตนจักละไป That means Rahul may you develop anicca sanya means impermanent perception and meditate when you develop the anicca sanya and meditate the giving the importance of oneself and one will go away. So this is the sutta that I found about the metta karuna mudita ubeka and we can link this sutta to the topic that we are talking.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for sharing from the Rahulavada Sutta. And we will continue study on Mudita and Upeka on following days. So next on Friday we will come to the Mudita. If there is nothing that you think we add on Karuna.
Course.
One
So
last question, Ajahn.
yeah.
Actually, one of the laymen, as he have a lot of faith in the Buddhism, a lot Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and he began to ask the question that if someone wants to achieve the nirvana, is that a desire?
That is a chanda. That's a chanda. If he desire to attain the nibbana, and along with that desire, if he is working, then that is a chanda. But if that's just a desire and not working, then that's just a thought, fantasy.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so thank you everyone, and we'll see you on Friday with the Mudita, and wait to hear stories on Mudita. Okay, so thank you, and we'll see you on Friday. That's it.
ครับสาธุสาธุอนุโมทนากับทุกท่านครับ
ครับผม Okay. Where is Mudita Guru? Mudita Guru ma tono ni na. Rahul ya PhD ยาวล่ะ แต่มันถึง
ข้อวันเดย์
อ๋อชื่อแกยาวเลย
Buddhism ไม่ยาว
Buddhism ล่ะอ๋อแล้วชอบชื่นชมตรงไหน
Napa yang nuha bande? Jintara share mozuni mangla cara sa wo join nu ble wo date asin jing wo dia. ตอนนี้ก็เขาให้ประมาณว่าให้ทดลองเรียนไปก่อนแล้วไปตัดสินใจว่าถ้าจะเรียนก็ให้ต่ออยู่อะไร
อ๋อโอเคดีแล้วเรียนไปเถอะผมไม่มีโอกาสเรียนแล้วไม่มีเวลาแล้วจะได้ด็อกเตอร์บ้าง
ตอนนี้ก็ยังสับสนอยู่ครับอาจารย์ว่าจะ
สับสนได้
ไปตอนนี้มีความคิดอยู่2 อย่างจะไปทางโลกดีหรือว่าจะไปทางธรรมดี
ทางโลกไปทำอะไร
ก็ไม่รู้เหมือนกันอาจารย์ต้อง
เห็นเพื่อนไปแล้วก็อยากไปด้วยเหรอเพื่อนชวนหรือเปล่า
ไม่เพื่อนไม่ได้ชวนอาจารย์แต่ว่ามันเข้ามาในหัวนี่แหละครับพอดีเห็นอายุมากขึ้นแล้วก็ถ้าไปที่หลังเนี่ยเดี๋ยวมันก็จะลำบากยิ่งกว่านี้หรือเปล่าก็เลยอยู่
ก็ต้องถามตัวเองว่าอยากได้อะไรอายุมากแล้วที่ว่าอายุมากแล้วจะทำอะไรเนี่ยก็คือถ้าอยากมีครอบครัวเหรออายุมากก็ไม่ได้ถ้าอยากมีครอบครัวแต่ถ้าหากว่าอยู่ในพระศาสนาเนี่ยอายุมากก็เท่ากับว่าเราก็ได้ทำความดีช่วยเหลือคนอื่นได้เยอะและในขณะเดียวกันเราก็เติบโตของเราไปด้วยนะความคิดที่จะศึกนี้ก็คือแค่เพราะว่าอายุมากแล้วเหรอ
ไม่พอดีโดนกดดันจากหลายๆที
กดดันเรื่องอะไร
ก็มันก็ไม่ได้มีอะไรมากอาจารย์แค่ว่าเวลาที่คุยทางบ้านเนี่ยก็โยมแม่ก็จะพูดถึงบ่อยเรื่องนี้ว่าแม่จะพอแล้วเพราะว่ามันหลายปีแล้วอะไรอย่างเงี้ยแล้วก็เลยก็คิดอยู่ว่าจะควรจะเลือกทางไหนจะดีก็ตอนนี้ยังตัดสินใจไม่ได้เหมือนกันคิดอยู่ถ้าพรรษานี้เสร็จนี่ก็จะคิดอีกที
ก็อย่างที่เคยบอกถ้าหากว่าลาสิกขาไปแล้วไปแต่งงานเนี่ยถึงแม้ว่ามีความคิดที่จะดูแลพ่อแม่เนี่ยไม่มีโอกาสได้ดูแลเนี่ยกุรมาcamera on mute
太白家的
อ๋อว่านี่ว่าแบบนั้น wasn't it lah tapi bepatta zula
कुनै चटाउनुगा चटाउँदा
anu syukur-bar kuno gurma
पौने ड्रिबिते itu kau pun nunggu lah
dago on pandai samdani niroz pandai samdani
kakak syukur bar nak lagi ni pandai
ka
asko pandai ni
ka อย่างที่บอกอะถ้าเราแต่งงานไปเนี่ยส่วนใหญ่ดูตัวอย่างดิมีใครบ้างไหมที่ดูแลพ่อแม่ไม่มีแต่ดูแลเมียกับลูกของตัวเองมากกว่านั้นอ่ะพ่อแม่เนี่ยทอดทิ้งกันเยอะแยะแต่ถ้าเป็นพระเนี่ยเรามีโอกาสที่จะดูแลได้เยอะกว่าถ้าคิดว่าจะดูแลแล้วถ้าอยู่ต่างประเทศดูแลไม่ได้ไปอยู่ที่เนปาลก็ได้ไปอยู่วัดที่เนปาลก็ได้อย่างน้อยก็ได้ดูแลเช่นตอนนี้เห็นไหมท่านนิโรธในนิโรธท่านนิโรธก็บวชพระมานานใช่ไหมทีนี้ท่านก็ดูแลแม่ไปบ้านไปดูแม่เนี่ยทุกวันยิ่งไม่สบายเนี่ยอยู่กับแม่เลยดูแลแม่เลยอย่างเงี้ยแต่ถามว่าท่านนิโรธเนี่ยมีพี่น้องไหมมีแล้วพี่น้องเนี่ยเขาหน้าที่การงานดีไหมดีเป็นเศรษฐีกันทั้งนั้นแต่มีใครมาดูแลไหมไม่มีนะท่านนิโรธก็ต้องดูแลเองท่านนิโรธก็เป็นหลักในการที่จะให้พี่น้องคนอื่นเนี่ยต้องมารับผิดชอบค่าใช้จ่ายในการดูแลแต่ถ้าท่านนิโรธเนี่ยแต่งงานไปเนี่ยท่านก็เหมือนเดิมกับพี่น้องคนอื่นใช่ไหมเพราะฉะนั้นเนี่ยถ้าคิดจะดูแลพ่อแม่นะผมจะสนับสนุนให้อยู่เป็นพระจะดีกว่าและได้ตอบแทนบุญคุณพ่อแม่ได้ดีแต่ถ้าแต่งงานไปแล้วเนี่ยไม่มีสิทธิ์ที่จะตอบแทนพ่อแม่เลยมีแต่บางทีอาจจะสร้างเวรกรรมด้วยซ้ำไปเพราะแฟนที่เราเลือกมาเนี่ยเราจะรู้ได้ยังไงว่าเขาจะชอบพ่อแม่ใช่ไหมแล้วเราจะรู้ได้ยังไงว่าเขาจะดูแลได้แต่เราจะบังคับให้เขาดูแลพ่อแม่ได้ไหมมันก็ไม่ได้เดี๋ยวก็เหมือนโมคคัลลานะที่เอาพ่อแม่ไปทิ้งหรือทุบตีอย่างนี้ก็ที่เนปาลก็ส่วนใหญ่ก็เป็นอย่างนั้นถ้าเป็นเรื่องนี้นะถ้าเรื่องนี้ก็คือผมจะสนับสนุนให้อยู่เป็นพระเพื่อจะได้ตอบแทนพ่อแม่แต่ถ้าเรื่องอื่นเนี่ยผมไม่รู้ว่ากำลังเรื่องอะไรกันถ้าเรื่องวีซ่าที่เมืองไทยก็มาอยู่นี่ก็ได้มาเดี๋ยวจะมาไหมล่ะทีนี้ผมก็ต้องการคนช่วยอยู่นะถ้ามานี่เดี๋ยวจะให้มาเป็นวีซ่ายาวช่วงที่อยู่แล้วก็ศึกษาไปแล้วก็ไปแพทย์ธรรมะไปในโอกาสในขณะเดียวกันก็เราก็สามารถช่วยทางบ้านได้อย่างเงี้ยนะลองคิดพิจารณาดูถ้าคิดว่าเรื่องของพ่อแม่อย่างเดียวเนี่ยผมไม่อยากให้สึกนะแต่สุดแล้วแต่ท่านอีกนะแต่ว่าไม่อยากให้ท่านลาสิกขาเรื่องนี้มีเรื่องอื่นหรือเปล่า
เรื่องอื่นก็ไม่มีอาจารย์ผมก็คือว่าในใจผมก็ถ้ามันสามารถช่วยได้อย่างที่พระอาจารย์บอกนี่ผมก็อยากจะอยู่ในศาสนาไปเรื่อยๆแต่ว่ามันเหมือนแบบบางที่ก็มันก็มีเรื่องกดดันอยู่2-3อย่างนะ
เช่น
ก็เหมือนถ้าช่วยตรงนี้นี่เดี๋ยวอาจารย์ทางนู้นก็จะบอกว่าไม่ช่วยนู่นทั้งนู้นบ้างแล้วก็ถ้าช่วยทางนู้นเนี่ยอาจารย์อีกท่านนึงก็บอกว่าทำไมไม่ช่วยทางนี้บ้างอะไรอย่างเงี้ยมันก็ตรงนี้ด้วยอีกอย่างหนึ่งอาจารย์ผมก็ไม่รู้จะไปช่วยยังไงฝั่งนู้นด้วย
แล้วเราก็ต้องดูตรงที่เราอยู่เป็นหลัก
ครับ
นะ ตอนนี้สมมุติว่าอยู่ที่วัดสิรินธรใช่ไหมเราก็เอาวัดสิรินธรเป็นหลักกิจกรรมที่วัดสิรินธรเป็นหลักแต่งานที่อื่นก็เป็นรองเพราะที่นี่เราเป็นที่อาศัยอยู่ที่นี่เป็นที่ที่เราอยู่เพราะฉะนั้นเนี่ยเราก็ต้องเอาอันนี้เป็นที่ฐานอันที่อื่นก็คือรองหลังจากที่ที่นี่เราว่างหลังจากที่ที่นี่ไม่มีอย่างอื่นก็เราค่อยไปทำที่อื่นค่อยให้ความช่วยเหลือคนอื่นที่วัดอื่นถ้าหากว่าเราพยายามจับทั้งสองที่เนี่ยเราก็ตกเหมือนกับว่าเราเอาขาไว้เรือสองอันน่ะเดี๋ยวก็ตกต่างคนต่างก็ไม่เอาเห็นไหมเพราะฉะนั้นเนี่ยเราก็ต้องเลือกสถานที่ที่เราปักใจอยู่มานานหรือเราตัดสินใจจะอยู่เป็นหลักและสร้างเป็นว่าอันนี้คือเหมือนกับว่าบ้านของตนน่ะเนี่ยโทษที